I'm Diana Becker and welcome back to my channel. I'm a psychic and a medium and I use both to trade stocks, and today I'm going to tell you all the pitfalls of that because even a psychic or a medium can lose money on the stock market. First of all, what do I mean by psychic? You can be logically minded and take in a lot of information, read a lot of articles, and study a lot of current events, and you could have a very creative mind and you could sort of see possible future paths, and logically you could come up with an idea of what's going to happen. You could also get so good at that and practiced at that you just wake up one morning and you know what's going to happen. So I'm not saying necessarily that the way I'm psychic is this supernatural woo kind of psychic. But actually, that is true of me because I've come up with a lot of things that no one could have known, like the Kobe, Japan earthquake, or just a lot of random things. So actually, it's both for me. I'm also medium, which means I get messages from dead people. I don't see them. Oh, I do see them sometimes, but the messages I'm getting about the stock market, I usually get them from things like numbers. I see certain numbers and they suddenly trigger something in me. It's like, okay, Tesla stock's up 6.66%. I'm like, oh, the sign of the devil, somebody's telling me something. I mean, that's kind of a joke, but you just get these little subconscious little kicks. There's a story I'm going to tell about this. When the stock market was going down, it went down 13%, and everyone said that's the bottom when it went down with the COVID virus. And I had warned as many people as I could possibly warn that the stock market was going to go down from the virus. That was probably a logical thing. And I got a lot of hate for it, actually, and I mentioned that in my other videos. It was really painful to stick my neck out and share with people what I saw was coming for sure, and to have them just hate me for delivering the message. Which is probably why you don't see more psychics out in the world telling people about anything bad that's going to happen. So I had predicted the stock market would go down. It went down 13%, and then it had this huge upswing. It was the night that Joe Biden overtook Bernie Sanders in the election, and a lot of people were trying to buy. And I tried to warn people it's going to go up a little and then it's going to go down more. I see it going to 2350. This S&P average going to 2350, which was a significant drop further, like, I don't know, 30% lower or something. And it did. But that day, I doubted myself. I was in jury duty. I was out of touch with the news. I couldn't watch it. I felt a little helpless, a little out of the loop. And the commentators were saying how that was the bottom, it's going up from here, and recommending people buy stocks. And I was released at noon from jury duty. I was walking to my car. The stock market's only open till 1 o'clock LA time. And I decided I'm selling all my bets against the stock market. I'm scared, and I'm thinking I'll just get to my car and then I'll make the trade. So I get to my car and it's underground, and I'm thinking, okay, am I really wrong? Is this possible that I'm wrong? So I couldn't make the trade from my car, and there's 10 minutes left by the time I realized this. And so I drive my car out of the parking garage, going around and around and around, working my way up. I was like 7 floors down. And there's these little signs every corner. It says, keep to your right, keep to your right, keep to your right. And I'm driving out, and I'm like, how could I be wrong? I saw this so clearly. I got so many messages about the stock market going down. This can't be the bottom. So I'm driving around, and finally I just blurted out loud, am I wrong? And I turn the corner, and one of the signs that says keep to your right has this valet jacket draped over it, and you could only see the last 2 words. It said, you're right. And it was such a weird thing to get a message in my face saying you're right. I almost missed it. And a lot of people see these things throughout their life and they just don't even see them. And I just thought, okay, I'm not going to sell. I'm going to just believe this message. I mean, that's just too blatant of a message that I almost missed. I just thought, okay, I'm just going to hold on. So I didn't sell at a loss. I stayed in all weekend, and all weekend people were saying how great the stock market was. It was going up, and I thought, oh brother, you know, I made a mistake. I'm going to lose so much money. And finally Sunday night, all of a sudden, people started panicking about the coronavirus, which was now starting to spread a little more. And I realized that the stock market was going to go down and that I had been right. But it was really hard because you can be psychic, you can know what's going to happen, you can know it, you can just know it. You can get messages from other people that are dead, you know, you're right. And you can still doubt yourself because you're human. I'm human. So that's one way that you could be psychic and just panic. You could be afraid, you know, and just sell your stock and lose money and then be afraid to get back in. And it's just really hard. Also, I've studied the stock market a long time, so I know a lot about trading. And if you don't know trading, you can lose money because you can be right about the direction of a stock and you can still lose money on a trade. Even on Friday, I was going to buy something called the SDOW, which is short on the Dow. And I've been studying the stock market for decades, you know, and I even have a group called the Call Girls Investment Club. I have a separate channel for that. And basically, I knew that the Dow was going to go down. I knew the SDOW was going to have a big upswing because it's the bet against the Dow. And so I thought I would buy and sell at the end of the day. But the options market is going crazy right now because it's such an unusual time on the stock market that people are selling the options way overpriced. So normally, if you buy the stock and it goes up and you sell it, you make a profit. If you buy an option and the stock goes up, you make 10 to 30 times the profit. In this case, you actually would have lost money. If you're psychic and you know what's going to happen, you still have to know the way the stock market works enough to avoid these pitfalls. And honestly, this was not a pitfall that was around until this last month because I fell for it a couple times. I made trades and at the end of the day I had less money than I started with, and I thought, how is this possible? I was correct about this stock and I lost money because I wasn't paying attention to the spread. And then there's another thing that happens. If you're psychic and you see the future and you know what's going to happen, but you're a day off, maybe you don't know the time frame. You're looking at the future, so you're not really looking at what's going to happen today. You might be looking at what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you have a weird, crazy stock market like we've had this last month, and it's going up and down, up and down, up and down, and you'd be like off by one day and you'd be making the wrong trade each way, getting ahead of yourself. I often think I was wrong, you know, and then it turns out it happens, but because I made a bet on it too early, I'd lose money. My friends all say, you're always right, Diane. You just early a lot of times. Okay, so here's another thing I wanted to talk about. I used to get always psychic visions, right, of what's going to happen all the time. I didn't always get messages as a medium from other people. After my husband died, I used to get some sort of messages using this tarot card app I got. I got an app on my cell phone for tarot cards. And I would decide I was going to do something and I would not quite believe in myself. And I'd think, well, I'll just pull a tarot card and see if it says I'm right. And it was really accurate. I would pull a tarot card and it would either say, you're going to get rich, or don't fool yourself, you know, or something like that. So I was really getting in the groove. I made a lot of money on Tesla options, Tesla stock first, and then eventually Tesla options with this additional feedback from whoever was giving me these messages. It's funny because I never saw my husband's ghost after he died. He was really non-confrontational though, and I think that might be why. But when my dad died, I saw his ghost. I mean, I didn't see him. I got messages from him all the time. Like, the first thing is, the moment he died, I knew he had died because he and I used to go for these walks and see these little butterflies, and one of those exact kind of butterflies flew up right in my face, and I was like, all of a sudden I just knew. He just died. Also, we'd be talking about him, we'd hear creaks or footsteps all of a sudden, or I had this book of photos of my dad, and like maybe we'd say something about him and all of a sudden the book would fall over in front of us. So that stuff didn't happen with my husband, Martin. So Martin was this big gambler. He used to go to Vegas, he used to buy stocks, he'd leverage his stock trading. He was a big gambler. My dad was a super conservative accountant, and he would not buy stocks. And he drove my mom crazy because he'd put money in CDs when everybody else was making a ton of money on the stock market. So this is the two opposites I have here of these two men. So I was getting pretty good messages, and I didn't think they were from Martin. But after my dad died, all of a sudden I'm noticing I'm getting contradictory messages with the tarot cards about what stocks I should buy and what I should do. And it was like 1 minute it would say, stop trading, don't buy any more stocks, get out of the stock market. And the other moment it would be like, you're going to make a lot of money on this trade. So I was like, what should I do? What's going on? I finally gave up on the tarot app. I felt like there were too many people talking to me and they were contradicting each other. And it was like, is this just random cards I'm pulling and I'm totally fooling myself? So I was like, this isn't working at all. This is a piece of junk, So I stopped using it. Well, later I did start using the tarot app again. And it's a lot more clear now. But I think what it was is, I feel like my dad and my husband, Martin, who was the gambler, if they got together, if at first they were both giving me contradictory advice, and then they started like realizing they could work together and talk to me with one voice, and I feel like that's what happened. So I feel like now I still have a connection to both of them, and that they've given me some really good advice, but I didn't always take it because, I don't know, because of that experience, I didn't quite trust the tarot cards. So there were times when it said very clearly things like, don't buy this, you could lose your house or something, and I just ignore it because I thought, well, I know better than these random cards I'm drawing, So that's another way you can lose money as a psychic, is if you don't trust yourself, if you don't trust the messages you're getting as a medium. There's another thing I wanted to say, and that is that I made a lot of money using the tips that I got from my psychic insights and from as a medium. I made a lot of money. And it was during the coronavirus, and it was the downturn in the stock market, and it was early on, and it was so easy. I made so much so early that I thought I'd go up and buy a cabin in the mountains, or something, because to get away from the virus and protect my family. But then I started thinking about it, and I felt like it was the wrong thing. I felt, first of all, it's not like I made money off of the pain and suffering of other people, but it's like I was separated from other people because now I didn't have the trials and tribulations that they did. My friends were struggling through this thing, and I was just going to disappear on them. And they need me and I need them. And so somehow I felt like that $1 million was sort of, I don't know, I just had a subconscious sort of feeling like it didn't feel right or something, which is a shame because it would be nice to just decide that you deserve it and accept money, as a gift from God, but sometimes it's hard for people to accept something like that, especially when it comes so fast. So the final thing is that I want to say is that what I've learned through a lot of these experiences is that you can see the future very clearly, but it doesn't mean it's set in stone. I know this has been a big debate over the years, but I figured out that it's like looking up the trunk of a tree and there's the branches spreading out above you, and it's like different paths that can happen. And certain decisions you make or certain things that happen in the world can make it so that you're going down one branch and not the other one, and that's kind of ruled out and you're headed this way now. So that's a positive message, I think, and that we can change what's going to happen in the future.